At the end of Maple Street, where the road curved gently into a grove of maple trees, there stood a small bakery named Sweet Crumbs. The bakery was a beloved spot in town, known for its melt-in-your-mouth pastries and the aroma of fresh bread that wafted through the streets each morning. The bakery was owned by Clara, a kind-hearted woman in her late 20s, who had inherited it from her grandmother. Clara was known not only for her baking skills but also for her warm smile and the joy she brought to everyone who stepped through her door. Every morning, just as the sun began to rise, Clara would start her day in the bakery, kneading dough, preparing pastries, and humming softly to herself. She loved her work, but there was a quiet loneliness in her heart. She often wished she had someone to share her days with, someone who would appreciate the little things as much as she did. One crisp autumn morning, as Clara was arranging freshly baked croissants in the display case, the bell above the bakery door chimed. She looked up to see a man she hadn't seen before. He was tall, with dark hair and kind eyes, and he carried a leather-bound notebook in his hand. "Good morning," he greeted with a warm smile. "I'm new in town, and I couldn't resist the smell of your bakery." Clara blushed slightly and returned the smile. "Welcome to Sweet Crumbs. What can I get for you?" The man introduced himself as Henry, a writer who had moved to the town seeking inspiration for his next book. He had rented a small cottage nearby and was exploring the town, finding comfort in its simplicity and charm. Henry became a regular at the bakery, coming in every morning for a coffee and the pastry. He would sit by the window, notebook open, pen in hand, and write for hours. Clara couldn't help but notice how peaceful he seemed, lost in his words, as if the world outside didn't exist. As the days turned into weeks, Henry and Clara began to talk more. Their conversations started with small talk about the weather and the town, but soon they were sharing stories about their lives, their dreams, and their fears. Henry told Clara about his struggles with writer's block and how moving to the town had helped him find his voice again. Clara shared her memories of her grandmother and how the bakery had always been a place of comfort for her. One day, as winter began to settle over the town, Henry came into the bakery looking troubled. He had been working on a new chapter, but something was missing. He couldn't find the right words to express the emotion he wanted to convey. Clara, noticing his distress, brought over a plate of warm cookies and sat down with him. "Sometimes, when I'm struggling with a recipe, I think about why I'm making it in the first place," she said softly. "Maybe it's not about finding the perfect words, but about feeling them." Henry looked at Clara, her words resonating with him. "You're right," he said, a spark of realization in his eyes. "It's about the feeling behind the words." From that day on, Henry and Clara grew even closer. Their conversations were filled with laughter and shared dreams. Henry found inspiration in the warmth of the bakery and the kindness of its owner. He wrote about the town, the changing seasons, and the quiet love that had begun to blossom between him and Clara. As winter turned to spring, Henry finished his book. It was a love story, inspired by the small moments he had shared with Clara. The smell of fresh bread in the morning, the warmth of the bakery on a cold day, and the sound of her laughter that filled the room with light. When the book was published, it was a success, praised for its heartfelt narrative and vivid descriptions. But to Henry, the greatest success was in the dedication he had written for Clara, who showed me that love, like a good story, is best when it's simple and sweet. On the day the book was released, Henry walked into the bakery with a bouquet of wildflowers and a copy of the book. Clara, who had been nervously awaiting his arrival, smiled as he handed her the flowers and the book. "I wanted you to have the first copy," Henry said softly. Clara opened the book and read the dedication, her eyes filling with tears. She looked up at Henry, who was watching her with a hopeful expression. "Clara," he began, "you've made this town feel like home for me. I don't want to imagine my life without you in it." Clara, her heart swelling with emotion, took a step closer to Henry. "I've been waiting for someone like you," she whispered. "Someone who understands that the little things are what make life beautiful and dare In the warmth of the bakery, surrounded by the smell of freshly baked bread and the promise of a new beginning, Clara and Henry shared their first kiss. It was a kiss that spoke of love found in the simplest of moments, a love as sweet and comforting as the pastries Clara baked each morning. From that day on, Sweet Crumbs was not just a bakery, but a place where love was baked into every loaf of bread, every pastry, and every moment shared between Clara and Henry. Moral: love in simplicity. True love is often found in the simple moments of life, where the little things mean the most. Inspiration in love. Love can be a source of inspiration, helping us overcome our struggles and find our true selves. Vocabulary: 1. Quaint. Attractively unusual or old-fashioned. The quaint bakery at the end of Maple Street was known for its delicious pastries. 2. Wafted. Pass or cause to pass gently through the air. The smell of fresh bread wafted through the streets, drawing people to the bakery. 3. Beloved. Dearly loved. Sweet Crumbs was a beloved spot in town, where everyone felt at home. 4. Blossom. To develop or come to a promising stage. A quiet love began to blossom between Clara and Henry.